First, I need to apologize for the title, but as I always say, I put the pun in punk. I am a student at Drexel University in Philadelphia, PA, a university that places a great emphasis on experiential learning through their close school of entrepreneurship. I received the opportunity to work full-time on my own company for 6 months, receiving funding, office space, and mentorship. With the conclusion of this co-op at the end of March, I am here to reflect on what I set out to accomplish with 6 months to dedicate to burning sky games, and what I earned from it all. In part 1, I focused on the specific goals of the co-op, which is most relevant to the game we are creating. If you are interested, you can read it there. This article is meant to be more helpful to a general audience. Now, let's get to the meat of it. I am borrowing a term from computer architecture here. The computer's processor, a little chip that I like to think of as its brain, is responsible for the bulk of the computer's thinking, and each train of thought is a thread. Modern processors have multiple of something called cores, and you can think of the group of cores as a team all working to get done a project. For us, some tasks are pretty hard to divide among a group, like writing this blog, and the same goes for computers. When that's the case, one person, a car, just has to power through it on their own. But projects usually require a lot of unrelated tasks, and so it's possible to assign them to different people and have them all do their jobs simultaneously. But it all starts with that initial assignment. In computers, we call this division of tasks multi-threading, and the opposite a single core doing all the work is single-threading. Usually, we prefer multi-threading over single-threading, with the exception being when the task is so minute that it's quicker to do it alone than to break it up into chunks, have everyone do their individual parts, and then bring it all back together at the end. To put it into more human terms, single-threading is better when it will take longer to communicate and coordinate with others than to just power through it yourself. Game development is hard, so at large, multi-threading is better, even with the extra effort that goes into working with a team. So, the lesson I learned over co-op is to always put my leadership responsibilities before anything else. By sending emails and Slack messages, assigning tasks on Trello, and doing anything else to delegate to others, I enable them to get their work done while I work on my own stuff. This is much more efficient than single-threading it, because there's always more people to do, and staying on top of things as a leader will set the path for the whole team. Communication is the most important and most challenging part of any group effort. It's easy to get distracted by what you need to do and forget what others need to do for you. This point will go hand in hand with the first. But make sure you give everyone the action. As a leader, this comes in the form of delegation. Assign clear objectives to each person, and make sure they understand how to achieve those goals. As a team member, let people know when you need something from them. It could be just a simple question, or you might be blocked by someone else's work. That is, your work requires someone else to do something first. The sooner you speak up about roadblocks, the sooner your whole team can work together to get around them. But it all starts with you. The first step to this is to set up clear channels of communication. You can use Slack, Discord, Facebook Messenger, or even just texting as long as it works for your team's needs. Personally, I suggested a Slack or Discord, though there are some other options I have heard work well too, like Twist. What's important is that you all are using it. Set up expectations. like that everyone should check at least once a day and respond to messages within 24 hours. Another thing my team does is to have weekly meetings to discuss a specific topic. And in between those meetings, one day is designated as a check-in day. On that day, we all post a message in our check-ins channel on Slack with what we have built up to that week and what we are working on for the rest of the week. It takes maybe 5 minutes per person and gives more transparency to what everyone's doing. It also forces communication, which can help with earlier points. I will start this point with an example. There are features in RNA that we only want enabled for showcase builds, like at MacFest, and there are features that should only be available in the downloadable game. For instance, the profanity filter on scoreboard names is only necessary when demoing the game at events, whereas we would not want anyone to press the quit game button at any event. So I set up a system that would let me toggle in the Unity editor whether the game is a showcase build, and each object only needs to check if it's a showcase build when loading. This made things easier than having to manually toggle things each time I build for a download versus showcase. But still, it was not ideal, because I had to build twice for each update I make to the game. During CISOCon last month, I came up with an idea that took only around half an hour to set up, taking a command line argument when opening the game that specifies if it should run in showcase mode. That way, I would only need to build once, which saves me 15 minutes each time I build. I chose to do this at CISOCon because it was the day we released the public alpha, and I found a lot of bugs while showcasing that affected both versions. With the command line argument, I could fix the bug, build once, and deploy it to both each. I owned the showcase laptop in half the time it had taken before. I have also spent a lot of time recently rewriting my code. I have learned a lot about how to write solid code since starting work on Runaway, and since some of the code is as old as the project, there have been many cases where I have had trouble implementing the features or fixing bugs, because the code was honestly not too well written. At one point, I honestly dreaded having to add to the code, because I knew how sloppy it was, and did not want to deal with the headache of trying and failing. Movement, tagging, and narrative have all seen some revisions in the last few months that have made it so much easier to keep adding to the project moving forward. To put it simply, I had to make sure my work supports me, and not the other way around. Sure, it's a headache in the moment, but it'll save plenty of headaches later. This point is especially challenging coming from an experience built mostly on classwork, where the aim is to make something quick that works, get the grade, and never come back to it. We are rewarded for doing things fast, even if they are not done right, and that will lead to bad habits. I guarantee it. This translates to establishing a workflow and pipeline that make everything as easy as possible for everyone involved. Think about it. We usually do not spend much time early on organizing our group, and then things fall apart. On a long-term project, it can be hard to revisit anything that you already have working, because you feel like you are not making progress. You'd rather work on something new, so that you can feel like things are coming along. But I promise it's worth the extra time now, since it'll save you some down the line. I recently discovered a handy web service called Hootsuite, which lets me schedule posts on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. It also lets me add authorized users to these different accounts, so that other team members can post to Instagram without me having to share the password with them. Before that, I had used a tool called TweetDeck, which only lets me schedule posts on Twitter. Whatever you prefer, I strongly urge you to use something to schedule your posts. That way, you can prepare social media when you have the time to do it. You can work well in advance, and you can set up a system within your team, so that one person creates all the posts and then another reviews and schedules them. With it, you have a lot more flexibility to work when it suits you while getting in on different weekly social media trends, like Pumpkin Screenshot Study, a Pumpkin Indie Devour. Take some time at the start of each week to plot out that week's posts, and then you will be able to rest easy in knowing that it's all taken care of. You can even let the posts guide what to work on that week, if you want to share a new feature for Pumpkin Screenshot Study, but have nothing new to share on Monday. You will have that in mind and can plan around it. Stay consistent.